All right, everyone. Thank you once again for those of you who are watching this success story interview. I'm super excited to share this story because I have Reina with me, and Reina is a very hard worker. She follows everything I'm telling her to do. When she needs some extra help, she asks for extra help. But I want to let you take over, Reina. I want to ask you, for everyone to know you, everyone from my own community, own network, what you do, where you come from, what's your story?
Okay, so that's a really good question to actually start off with. So, my background is in law, and my specialism is in international human rights issues. And I've worked with women, so I work predominantly with women's rights cases. And starting a business for me was something very new, never had done it. So, literally, this is what happened. I went through a whirlwind journey in 2020 in lockdown in about March. That's when our lockdown happened in the UK. I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on this business that I want to create. I want to get it running. And as my business started kind of going, and I was doing mini workshops here and there, I was doing webinars online. And literally in September, I thought I'm going to leave my job in the middle of a pandemic. So literally, I left my job, and a week later is when I met you. So it was like a synergy, like
Yeah.
energetically. And I was literally, because when I left my job, I thought, okay, running a business is something very new. I come from a very different world. Also, I didn't do any commercial law, so business was so new. I had a coach before, and I had done the basics of, what includes to run a business, what it includes, but nothing like what you've taught me.
Thank you. Thank you, Rita. Okay, so let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
So when did you finish your law degree?
Oh wow, that was in 2015 or 16, around then.
2016, and then you have always been working as a lawyer.
Yeah, so I've been working as a lawyer since 2016 is when I started. So the last couple of years.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a couple of years. Let's
Yeah. But
16, 4 years at least.
4 years, but before that, I was paralegaling at firms. So I've been doing this for a long time.
Okay,
Yeah,
so and then and with you, what exactly do you do within your law niche expertise?
got it. So most of my cases are like domestic abuse cases. I get trafficking. I get a lot of like sexual violence cases, child abuse. So a lot of trauma is kind of where my background's been in. So very, very different.
And that is what led to you focus on human rights and focus on women, and then create your own brand.
Yeah, so what happened was I did a postgraduate degree in international human rights, so that became my specialism. And then I ended up working with women's rights organizations. And that's kind of how I just came into this world. And I started doing policy work with, like, campaigning, advocacy, raising awareness about like legal changes. Then I wrote a public policy report that was supposed to come into effect to change like laws. And then after that, I switched and I came into the private sector, where I continued doing the work, but I stopped doing kind of policy work. Then what happened was, last year I realized that the women that I'm working with, they need more support after what I'm offering them. And there was no space to kind of speak about the issues that they were experiencing in an open way. So I started an initiative which is called Empower Beyond Boundaries. And when I started that initiative, it was like just a space for them to come and talk about the issues. I would come and I would engage with them on webinars. I would do like speaking gigs, and we would just connect, speak in a safe space about what they're experiencing, how they can move past it. And then what happened was, I realized, okay, well, they need something a bit more than just speaking. They need more support. And that's when the business
Guidance.
idea came to me. Yeah.
And all of those webinars was nothing was a revenue stream, right?
No, it was no, it was all just free, welcome to attend.
Okay, and then you have this coach that she helped you very much to set up the thing, the basics, and
Yeah,
how to maybe create a brand. I remember we spoke about this
yeah.
because the first time I saw you, I was actually impressed on how your Facebook looked, right?
Yes, I remember.
And then because it stand out, it
Yeah,
stood out, which is different than the majority, right?
yeah,
So then, okay, so then we go to the moment where you, all right, you set up the entire program,
yeah,
because when we spoke, you had already your program set.
yeah,
Like, how would you coach someone? How would you guide
yeah.
within your 12-week process?
Hmm.
But then, okay, how did we meet?
So
And hold on, and how and where and when did we meet?
I think it was end of September or beginning of October, from what I recall, and we met on Facebook in one of the groups.
You laughing? Okay, and then what happened? And then what happened? Just share the
I think
process.
I think you commented because I joined this group and then you said like I introduced myself and you commented on that post saying, "Hey, you have a really nice profile." And I immediately, like when I clicked on your profile, I thought, "Oh, great! Like he's doing something very different." So I was like, "Oh, I'll DM you." That's what I immediately said because that's my reaction. So you're like, "Okay, cool." So I'm the one who reached out to you after looking at your profile.
And then what happened?
And then you started you started
What?
asking questions like I think the first thing were like, "Oh, your profile's really nice. I'm really impressed by it." I was like, "Thank you very much. Would love to get to know what you do." You were like, "Okay, what do you do?" And one thing I do remember, you said, "I just want to know kind of where are you in this process." And I said to you, "I have to be very honest. I've literally just left my business, left my job. I'm starting my business, so I have no revenue coming in. I only have my savings right now, but this is a risk that I'm taking." And then you were like, "Okay, well, let's get on a quick chat sometime and let's talk about this, and I can help you through this process, and give you some good feedback." And I was like, "Okay," I was like, "This guy's really helpful."
So let me ask you, Rita, between the first time we kind of interact on Facebook
Yeah,
to the day, which was actually evening, you
yeah,
became my client, right?
yeah.
How long did that take?
I think it was 3 days.
3 days,
I
right?
think it was
Perfect.
3 days.
3 days. Now let me ask you, through the process,
Yeah,
did you feel comfortable and familiar, somehow safe
I
when
did.
we were talking, getting to know each other?
Yeah, definitely, I did. I think one thing I liked was I felt like you understood where I was and you understood what I wanted. That's one thing I really liked.
So let me ask you this now, because we're going to talk about your success. But between the first connection you got with the client you just acquired a couple of days ago,
Yeah,
right? It's a high ticket client.
yeah,
Between the first connection with this person
yeah.
to the moment this person paid, how long did it take?
The first like
The first
connection.
connection, like somehow you got connected on Facebook, to
Mhm.
the moment she said, "No, I want you as my coach," and she was paying you. How many days
I
was
think
that?
it was 4 days because there was
Four
a weekend
days.
in between as well, so it was 4 days.
It's 4 days. Similar, right? Okay, so all right, so again, you start working with me,
Yeah,
and you felt I could understand where you were and what you needed,
yeah.
and we just start working together. So I will ask you, please, Rina, what's the process of working and learning the mirroring? How does the process look like under your perspective?
I think that the way you showed it and explained it was really good. It's literally about empathizing with that person, seeing where that person is at, and helping them. That's what I really liked. You're really helping people, you're providing value throughout that process from start to finish, you know?
Thank you. And what does how do I do that? What does that look like on a daily basis?
So there's 2 hours of hunting and there's 2 hours of farming. And
Okay.
that was like your minimum requirement. Obviously, like there are days where I've done more, but literally it's 2 hours of hunting, going in the groups, looking for groups that are relevant to you, what your niche is, and finding people in there that you can actually help.
All right. And then and how, okay, and how do you know what to do? And when you don't know what to do, what do you do?
I message you.
You message me. It's true. And do you feel like you go through the process, right?
Yeah,
Number one, do you feel you're acquiring this necessary skills to have a profitable and predictable business?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think from start to finish, you can really see that process come through, because what your process is teaching is not just take anyone, you're filtering people throughout that process. So even though you're commenting and you're going back and forth with the farming, you're actually coming to see, is this person someone who I can really help? They can go through my process as
Right.
well. And it's like, okay, this person can't, this person you can, this person you can't. So I
So
think that's,
you are the one who actually take the person away and move the ones you feel you have the skill to
yeah,
help them and they have the need for your skill, right? So
yeah,
you move the people in
yeah,
and then until the person becomes your client.
yeah, definitely.
So
Because
then what happened?
what do you mean? What happened?
In other words, how long did it take you to acquire your first client?
It took what, 6, 7 weeks?
It feels like 6, 7 months, right?
Yeah, it does. It feels like a long time. I think it's 6 weeks, because I first started speaking to you at the beginning of October. I remember, and even between there, like, I've had to like shift because I had to get my messaging clear.
Right,
At
right,
one
right, right, right.
at one point, my messaging wasn't clear, and I was getting the client. I was joining the groups that I knew, like, when I joined them, I was like, this is not for me. There's something missing here. And then I came back, and then you helped me kind of get clear on who my client is, join the correct groups. And then from that point onwards, it's literally like been what, 3 weeks since then? Like, it's just shifted. Um,
Yes, that's a
yeah,
very important step. That's the foundation of everything
yeah,
to
definitely.
really become smooth.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was like the pivoting point for me, because it was like the minute I changed and came into the correct groups, I found whoever it was that I wanted to help, they were all there, like bam, 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 bam. Yeah.
So your service obviously is a high ticket service,
Yeah.
because you really provide something very powerful to these women. Now it's a very important question because a lot of business owners, service based business owners, coaches, consultants, agency owners, they do feel mainly in the beginning that the sales side of the business is something that
Yeah.
is not is seen as bad, or is seen like you tricking someone, or they don't feel comfortable to ask for a high ticket dollar number, right?
Yeah.
And then so I would like to ask you, how do you feel with your sales process? If you feel this bad, or you're tricking someone, or if you actually feel that totally opposite, which is you're actually helping someone, and if you do feel one other one, why do you feel that?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. I think for me, it wasn't that I didn't, I was embarrassed or shy to ask for the money. For me, it was like I didn't know what a sales process looked like. And it was really learning, like, this is what it is. It's that step-by-step process of coming into something, a completely new world. I was like, I don't even know what this looks like, so it was you taking me through that sales process of like, I think, and the biggest one for me as well was overcoming objections, like, especially the money objection. It was really difficult for me in the beginning, because I was like, it's uncomfortable when you're in that and you're like, okay, but what about this, and what about that, and what about that? But then on this particular call, and I felt like, okay, I was a bit more comfortable because we had just gone through that money objection and how to overcome it. But sales is something, I think it's just practice. You have to practice and you have to do it, because every person is probably different in how you're going to take them through that process, even though step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the same, you
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah.
And we were practicing, right? One thing
Yeah.
I told you is that listen, you are a coach,
Yeah.
you have knowledge, and you can change someone's life.
Yeah.
So you must be assertive when you have to be assertive. And you'd say something like, yeah, that's true. Like when I was, you know, with my clients, in when you're practicing your law
Yeah.
in work, you would be assert, when you have to be assertive,
Yeah.
right? And when you have to be a bit more smiley and nicer, right? And this is one thing we were working on. I would say, Rina, listen,
Yeah.
here you have to be, clear,
Yeah.
and because the person on the other side will feel safe
Yeah.
when we are assertive, when saying some things. Right, so that's one thing we're working on, because you have all this big smile and great vibe behind. That's good, but sometimes you have to,
Yeah.
still nice, but they have to see, like, there's a great profession in front of me that I see and feel, more than understands, is feeling. I feel they cannot explain really, but this person has the knowledge, has the experience, and can actually guide me, because they see you as an authority, as a leader.
Yeah. Definitely. I think that was like a game changer, when you actually said, like put yourself in that authority position. And like when I actually did put myself in that authority position and I came in my mind with that, that's when that click and the sale happened. Because prior to that, I was very nervous, because I was like, okay, well, this is a sales call. I got to come through. I got to go through these steps. But then the way I saw it was also practice for me, because the more I did it, the more comfortable I
Correct.
was with it. And for me to like come from such a different world, and like I left my job, no, what, 2 months ago now, and to make a sale, like that's a big thing. Like we make sales in law, but it's different because the necessity is very different. It's like, are you going to pay this money so that you can get this service or not? That's the necessity. And it's really putting that same necessity in your mind. It's like you want to change someone's life, and it's
Right.
like how bad do you want it? Do you want this or do you not want this? And it's coming with that in mind and saying, I'm going to help someone, and this is a process that we're going to go through in the sales call.
Correct.
Yeah.
And now that you got your first client, now you are actually, yesterday, you told me yesterday you had your session with the client, right?
Yes.
So now it's like a new thing of which you have the experience from the past, but within your business is like a new angle now, because now you're a service provider,
Yeah.
and you still have to do you know, your hunting, your farming, and your strategy sessions and all of that, right? To
Yeah,
bring in more
definitely.
clients.
Yeah.
So how does that feel? It feels good, right?
It feels so good. Actually, like this morning, I was literally thinking, I was like, oh my god, the more clients I get, I was literally thinking, how am I going to fit hunting and farming around all these clients?
Yeah.
In That's literally what was going through my mind in the morning. So it feels really good, and like you shift in a new kind of perspective. You have to kind of manage your clients, do your hunting, do your farming, and still show up for your clients, still do
Yeah.
everything you're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So let me ask you this, Rina. Do you feel that this high ticket client that you acquired through the mirroring process, because you must agree that the mirroring is in all steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like today, you know how to use mirroring pretty much in any source of communication. Maybe you go to the supermarket and use mirroring,
No, you
uh,
can.
right? So, do you feel that this client you acquired was a fluke, was lucky, or you feel like you can just replicate and keep on replicating, optimizing to bring in more and more and more clients now?
No, I don't think it was a fluke. I think this was as a result of the mirroring concept, because had it not been for that process of joining the groups, hunting, farming, mirroring throughout that process, um, I wouldn't have found this particular client. And also she's like the exact kind of prototype of the person I want to help.
Right, right.
So that's not a fluke, you know.
So you feel like you can have more now?
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Definitely can. And I feel like now that I've gone through the entire process once, I know what it looks like
Correct.
to absolute finish, even overcoming objections.
Correct. Now it's true. It changed the entire perspective of thing. Like, all right, here, you have a feeling, not just once you go through the process, right? And you
Yeah.
don't have a client, and you go again, you don't have a client. Well, you still have some winnings throughout the process, and you understand with each step what works and how it works, right? But once you get the client,
Yeah.
they're like, hold on, now you have a inner, it's kind of an inner understanding.
Yeah.
Maybe you cannot really explain through words, but it's an inner understanding, that sensation, that
Yeah.
sixth feeling, let's say, or
Yeah.
sixth sense, right? Where
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
well, how to make it work because you went through. So now you're like, you feel like you have the power in you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think now when I've acquired this client and she's such a good fit, I'm like, I know exactly who I'm looking for throughout that process, you know? It's like that prototype fits and you know what you like, you know, when you're hunting, when you say, I think you say have a sniper vision, like
Yeah,
literally have a
yeah,
sniper vision.
yeah.
Like that's literally what you know you're looking for.
Bridget. You have to look for Bridget.
Bridget.
Let me ask you, Rina, and thank you for sharing all of that, in detail. It's nice.
Yeah.
Would you recommend someone to work with me?
Yeah.
And I would ask you, why is that?
I absolutely would. I think not only like you know the process is very clear step by step you take us through, but I remember in the first few weeks like we would go through a call every day. You're available for me whenever I had a question. You were there answering my questions. If I was stuck on like how do I move this client from a group into the DMs, like you would actually like say this is how you do it, this is what you can say, this is how you can mirror, because mirroring is a skill and you have to learn it, and I think that support you provided was really good. But I would recommend it because you are a hustler and I like hustlers. You're so motivated. And I think like when I had down days, you were like, no, Reina, let's keep going. Let's keep going. It will happen. It will happen. Like you kept encouraging me. And I think that's so needed when you're working with someone because everyone will have a down day, but you want someone that's going to keep pushing you, that's going to keep lifting you up. And every time I would say, oh, I have a strategy session coming up, you'd say, okay, let's get on a call, let's go through it. That support you provide is like so invaluable. You're always there, you always show up for not just me, but I'm sure other people you help as well, but you always show up for me, and I really like that.
You really like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that, and I think
You
it's
notice I just mirror you?
yes, you did.
You see, you're going to explain all over again. I was like, thank you. No, I was just messing up. But thank you for the nice words, Rina. And is a reflection as well, you know, because you do follow everything you ask. You try to understand. You try to,
Yeah,
because every time we were like, well, let's go back to step one, step two. Remember, like go back step one, step two. Everything will be on top of those two steps, right?
yeah,
And but so and they just literally you were able to use your rational logic mind.
yeah,
And I was say, and I like always say, forget emotion.
yeah,
Let's analyze things,
yeah,
look at the numbers, right, and then we go all over again. So
yeah,
of course it's not just, oh, everything is amazing. There's ups and downs, but as long as there's an understanding of what's happening, that's what the main goal is. Because like we said earlier, once you
yeah,
understand and you win the entire thing, hold on, now it makes sense. There's a big light. I mean, I understand this thing.
yeah.
This actually makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Like I remember when we did like last month, like analytics, and
Yeah, after the four
I was
weeks,
like,
right?
yeah, I was so down. I was like, oh, I didn't make a sale. And then you're like, no, no, let's just come and look at the numbers. You're like, this is how many calls you had. This is how many people like that friended you. Like even my friends list has grown so much because Facebook was new to me, and that's another thing. So, that you've like helped me like build and create is like that following, and like when we looked at that numbers, we were like, no, this is good. This is good. You're doing good. When you look at the numbers, it
Right.
feels like you're doing a lot of work, but when you look at the numbers, you can actually see like that's the benefits of what you're doing. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Knowing your numbers will set you free
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
let me ask you this, Rina. And thank you again for all of that super nice words you gave me. Let's say someone have spoke with me already,
Okay.
and for some reason, whatever the reason is, he's kind of on the fence. He's doesn't know does it doesn't know if he should move in or just not move in, right?
Right.
And he's listening to you now.
Mm,
And you said, well, you recommend yes to work with me. My question would be, why would this person move on straight away instead of just waiting for something in the future?
Um, I think because you can either make a choice on, like, okay, I always say one decision can change your life. If there's one decision that you are going to make today that's going to change your life, it's probably going to be working with you. Because if you are someone whose business is not growing, it's stagnant, you're new to business, or you're starting something new, you need that support. You can't do it yourself. You need someone who's done that, been through that process successfully, takes people through like a predictable step by step journey, who can teach you that, you can take that away. And that's for life. Like, I know this now for life, you know? And like, take this from me, like, who literally, I quit my job a week later, I found you, I've been working with you, and I was literally thinking, where am I going to generate revenue from? Everyone was like, Reina, that's crazy, why would you leave your job in the middle of a pandemic? And I was like, no, this is a calling, I'm feeling it. I did it, I met you. Obviously, I believe energy is a thing, but here I am, you know, and it's going to keep going and growing. So that's why I would say work with you, choose to make that decision.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now let me ask you, if someone within my network, right,
Yeah.
uh, likes you a lot, sees this interview, sees that maybe you have, what they need,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
um, where can they find you?
They can reach out to me on my Facebook, and they can drop me a message, add me as a friend, and we can connect that way. Easiest and quickest way.
Can I tag you on the Facebook when I
Yeah,
post this
you can.
interview?
Yeah, absolutely. You can tag me.
Okay, Irina, this was nice. Thank you very much for, the interview. Thank you very much for sharing your experience and for being such a hard worker. And I know within 3 months from now, for sure, we're gonna have a second interview, not
Yeah.
talking about your first successful client within 7 weeks, but whatever many clients you have by then. Because now, these are all new games gonna start for you. So
Yeah.
thank you, okay, Irina.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye bye.
All right. Bye.